Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, as we progress towards the development of our Pi-CBT protocol, there are many ideas in which inshallah we can discuss and then develop. And if some of you are in the research in psychology, in the field of psychology, doing research in terms of whether cognitive or behavioral or whether Islamic psychology, you can work on this idea, inshallah. So we have mentioned that the protocol for Pi-CBT start with intention. So how are we going to describe intention today? I'm going to give you the whole idea, the whole meaning of intention, because we start with intention. Our framework protocol must begin with intention, then intervention. And intervention, I've explained, we have the biomedical, bioelectrical, electromagnetic, or electroconvulsive, whatever intervention that is for the doctor. Then we have the cognitive and behavioral intervention. Then we have the spiritual, emotional, and physical SEMP integration intervention, which is unique to Pi-CBT. Then the development, the next level is the development of attitudinal and values transformation and development. Because once you have this intervention, your hope is for the development and the transformation of the very person. So if they have fear, then how are you going to have the reduction in their fear? So the attitudinal values and their transformation and development is such that they have no more compulsive behavior or fear of height or fear of snakes or fear, whatever fear that they have. All right? And at the highest level is that then they will exit from the program in terms of they become self-actualized. And they can be self-actualized from the intervention and the change that has been manifested in themselves. And this self-actualization, I've explained to you, is not a grandiose idea, but every one of us at whatever level in life has an opportunity for self-actualization at the level pertinent to our existence in this earth, at our level to fulfill our role as the servant of Allah, as His Caliph of Allah, to strive to make ourselves good, help others to be good, and make this world good. So today I'm going to explain to you the idea of intention. All right. I'm trying to summarize to you in graphical form, Ihya Ulumuddin. All right. This copy. Al-Hajj Maulana Fazul Karim, this is a very old copy that I have, I think some 35 years ago, all right, which, you know. So basically, Al-Ghazali have explained in detail this whole idea of intention in book 1, book 2, book 3. In his book of worship, he explained it. In his second book, book of constructive virtue, book 1, book 2 of constructive virtue, there are 2 books, all right? And then in the book of destructive evil, he explained. So all this is just Ihya Ulumuddin, which is very, very fantastic actually. Once you start to understand the whole idea of the explanation of this fantastic gift of Allah, Hujjatullah Al-Imam Ghazali, this genius, you can understand how it is relevant to modern psychology actually. All right? And how he has done it. So I just summarized it in a framework that makes you easy to understand. Okay, so when we talk about intention, all right, before intention they have motive. All right, so motive is what we say in terms of motive, whether it is good, bad, all right, sincere, insincere, destructive, and so on. All right, so when we have motive, this motive will then drive the intention. So the intention can be split into 3 levels or 4 levels. This is in our book. When you go to our model, we have this Maqasid Sharia. It gives us a 3 level of Maqasid Sharia, as well as how we can actually develop this in terms of the foundational or primary, secondary, that is the goals, hajiyat, and tertiary objective, that is tahsiniyat, and then the programs and intention action, that is amaliyat. So from here, our motive will then push our intention, and our intention should be such a way that it is driven by the disposition of ourselves. Later on I'll explain to you how this disposition works in terms of our inner speech, in terms of our model itself. So when we go back into intervention, you can see that this can be used as a basis of a therapy. Pi-CBT therapy, as well as a basis for Pi-CBT to transform in terms of predisposition, current disposition, and future disposition or habits, values, and so on. So from the intention, it will drive will or action, and then will or action will drive the consequence. So once we know this flow, we would then be able to have an idea of how to correct ourselves based on Al-Ghazali's idea or concept of intention. So I'm just going to read a few places in his book, in his book 2, all right? Book of Constructive Virtue, part 2. First is just I take a few sentences and I'll just move around just to give you the idea, because when Al-Ghazali write this book, Al-Imam Ghazali write this book, he has placed all these ideas in many places, all right? And there are many analogies, many examples, many statements by the saints, hadith, and so on. But it is flowed over with his argument, constantly arguing vis-a-vis, for example, the disbelievers, vis-a-vis the philosophers, vis-a-vis those who have different ideas of sectarianism and so on. So, what does he say? Okay, he says about the meaning of intention. Meaning of intention is not only expression by mouth, but also will to that expression. That means it is not, meaning of intention is not only expression by mouth, but also will to that expression. It is the liking of the mind for that which expresses that expression by using our mouth. So we use our mouth to express it. All right. When there is no liking or intention of the mind, mere verbal expression are nothing. So if we say something that we don't do it, or we don't intend to do it, and we have no motive of doing it, then it is nothing. So the niyat or intention in prayer, for example, is only verbal. If it is only verbal expression without any application of the mind, it is meaningless. That means there's no meaning. So there are many ideas of intention. For example, different intention in worshipping of Allah. Men may have different intention in divine service. Some do good deeds out of hope for getting to paradise. Some do it, these good deeds, with the sole intention of pleasing Allah and to declare Allah's glory and majesty with no other intention. All right? And then the rewards of pure intention. The Quran says, they were not ordered except to worship Allah and being sincere to Him. This is where Allah tells us in the Quran, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. They were but commanded to submit to Allah, مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ, with sincere intention, will, and submission. So beautiful. All right? Allah also says, let one who hopes, in the Quran, this is a translation, in Surah 18, verse 110, let one who hopes to meet his Lord do good works and do not associate anyone in the service of his Lord or Allah. So Allah tells us, Ikhlas or work sincerely for Allah is a hidden treasure out of my hidden treasure. I'll put in the heart of the one whom I love. All right? And Allah also says, the fountain of wisdom, the fountain of wisdom flows in the heart of those who worship Allah sincerely for 40 days, and so on. So there are many ideas here, but what is important is for us to understand this nature of intention. So from here, if our intention is sincere and good, and it is the foundational aspect. So this foundational aspect must be driven by what? It must be driven by our belief system. So within our belief system, we have, for example, in our model, we have this maqasid al-sharia, we have the primary, secondary, tertiary, and illustrative amaliyat. So we start with, if we are going to start anything, our primary intention should be where Rasulullah tells us about the nature of Islam, iman and ihsan. So we must be doing it with the sincere intention of committing ourselves in the practice of Islam, one. Number two, in our fullness of our understanding of iman. That means the aqidah, where our commitment, for example, the very foundational idea of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. That is the basis of our iman. So our intention must be, and motive must be sincere. Because if we say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah with no intention, it has no meaning, it has no purpose. So the motive and intention will then affect the actions, whether it is good or bad, negative, and then the consequences, which I'll explain later. So we have first Islam, iman, then ihsan. And ihsan is the absorption of ourselves into understanding the grandeur and the glory of Allah from the perspective of His attributive aspect, not the Zat. We will not be able to do that. So we dwell on that, and in ihsan is our intention will be achieving perfection in worship based on one's personal awareness of Allah's presence, love, and compassion. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, ihsan is the worship of God as though you see Him, and if you cannot see Him, then He sees you. This is Hadith Jibril. So here we can see that once we have taken this intention with sincerity, the motive is sincere, then whatever that we do in terms of the will and action, and the consequences will be positive. So this concept of intention would then be able to draw us, for example, at the second level of, in terms of what we need to do in terms of programs of action. So example, at Amaliyat, what we can do? There are many, many things that we can do. And every day we must start with our intention. All right. If, for example, you are a Muslim, you start your intention every day when we say our prayer. Inna salati wa nusuki wa ma yahya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alamin. I say Allahu Akbar, and then we say the dua iftitah, and then we say that Inna salati is verily my prayer, my good deeds, my amaliyat, my life and my death is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rabbul alamin. So that is our intention. We declare the intention 5 times a day. So also there are many things that we do without awareness, because we do it without the intention and without the motive, or just a physical motive of just going up, bowing down and putting your head on the ground, without the motive and intention of ubudiyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That intention is meaningless. So Imam Ghazali has repeated this many, many times, and the consequences of doing that is very, very severe. So that's why, first and foremost, when we talk about Pi-CBT, I'm not even talking about the therapy, I'm talking about the foundational values of Islam, Iman, Ihsan. We must absorb that very, very thoroughly before we say, oh, I'm a life coach, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That is amaliyat. All right, those are the goals and tertiary, which is good. I'm not saying it is bad, it is good. Then we will learn and use this. So subsequently, we develop an action that is inshallah accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the only purpose of our life. What other purpose that we have? So at the secondary level, we must have a goal. Our hujiyat and our tasniyat must be congruent to which of our ideal and our way of life, in which inshallah we would be able then to implement it. That means our I have explained the previous video, our belief and our action must be congruent, they must be together. But if our belief and what we do is here, what we say is here, and what we do is here, there's a big gap, that is cognitive dissonance. And with cognitive dissonance, there are many consequences, for example, of hypocrisy, riya, takabbur, which all mentioned in this book, Ihya Ulumuddin. So if you are keen, read Imam Ghazali, Hujjatul Islam, and try to distill. I'm just distilling his thoughts. I mean, if he is writing this voluminous volume, I'm just distilling his thoughts to give you the idea. Have a good motive, have sincere intention, act according to the intention, not outside the intention, and the consequences or the gifts will be, whether it is good or bad, would be dependent on our intention. So inshallah, the next video I'll explain even greater detail on intention, on how we're going to apply this to Pi-CBT in our development of positive Islamic cognitive behavior therapy, inshallah.